Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Meeple Reviews. This is episode 13 of our podcast.
13?
And I'm your co-host, Jeffrey.
I guess I'll be Jacob today.
Okay. Sounds cool.
Sure.
So, what's new? What's new in the zoo?
Man. Well, we just finished our top 25s.
Yeah.
We just finished recording that anyways. There might be, at the time of you listening to this, there might be one or two of those up for your viewing pleasure.
So go check out one great list and one not so great list.
Yeah,
and we'll leave that up for you to decide.
Mine and then
let
Jeffrey's is...
Let the viewer decide who has the better list.
Mediocre.
I think they'll side with me.
I think they'll side with me.
We'll see. We'll see.
So
go check it out. Put in the comments who you think had the better list.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know whose tastes you lean towards.
Yeah. And like I said, we did an intro video. I think it's a good way for the viewers and listeners to kind of get a feel for what kind of games gets us excited, what we like, and what they more align with. So if I recommend a game and Jacob doesn't, well, are they more towards my side of the camp or you? Because we do have very different gaming tastes.
And you might not recognize that if you've just watched our videos, because a lot of the games that we've covered, we've both kind of recognized, hey, this is a decent game, and given it a similar rating.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at our top 25 lists, it's quite different.
Yeah. There's a lot of games on my list that you haven't even played.
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly.
you haven't had a chance to even form an opinion on those games yet. But I've sought them out or played them a lot a while ago. And then similarly with your list, there's some games that I've only played maybe once, maybe not even at all.
Right.
So you really get to see the difference between us in that list. Whereas our top 5 games of 2015 were basically the same list.
Yeah, I mean, we played most of those games together.
Yeah.
To start, and then from that point, of the games that we played, we just happened to like majority of the same.
Yeah. I think, like I said, we can both recognize usually a great game.
Yeah.
But a good game, I should say, but the games that we really think are great games that we want to, continuously play and have in our collection.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we differ in our taste.
Yeah.
But that kind of leads me into another point with, doing all this stuff is I want to ask you a question.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do you feel like a reviewer or a board game podcaster yet?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like we've put out a decent amount of content.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've established ourselves a little bit with the amount of games that we have played and the amount of games that we've reviewed. I feel like we have put out meaningful content as well, especially in our podcasts. We've talked about very specific content that I think helps the community, gives something back to them. So in that sense, yes. In the long run, no. I look at people like Rodney Smith for videos, and his videos are so polished, they're so perfect, and it's just flawless, and that blows my mind. And then I look at the Secret Cabal, who have done 100 plus podcasts now, and they cover their bases so well, and they're so fluid between all the podcasters. It comes across as very seamless.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that's what they do, and they do it well.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like we're still kind of clunking along and finding ourselves at this point. I feel like we're getting to the point now where we're just like, okay, we got this, and we've found our stride, or we're getting our stride. We're getting a feel for it. Yeah,
I definitely, I don't feel yet like a reviewer or a podcaster. I feel like I'm just someone who reviews games.
Someone who speaks their mind every once in a while.
Yeah, I wonder at what point I'll actually feel like, yeah, I'm a board game reviewer, or a podcaster, or anything like that. I kind of just feel like, you know, someone who dabbles in it. But I think you know, we've put out close to 50 videos now. We're on episode 13 of the podcast. We're still new into it.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot, I think, about it, but we still have a lot more to learn.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like video and audio recording, editing, lighting, things like this, we're still taking it steps at a time. Even with this newest move, where you've just moved into your new house yet, we have a new recording room, and there's light glaring in. You might notice that in a couple of our videos if you watch our videos.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them we just decided to toss aside, and we're like, yeah, we're not going to post that because the sun is just glaring in on Jeffrey's face.
I disappear.
The whole video.
I disappear.
He's just like completely white, which is hilarious. But, you know, we're taking steps and we're learning from our experiences, as, you know, as every part of life is.
Yeah.
You know, you try something new, you do something new, and it's like, oh, that's how it works. And you get better and better and better.
Yeah, so episode 13, not really feeling like a podcaster yet. Just someone who just messes around with this stuff, but it's fun.
I feel like we're doing a good job. Like, I think that it's a lot of it comes for me down to recognition, which I mean, to be honest, we're not getting a lot of it yet.
No.
We have on our YouTube, we have like 150 subscribers. Podcasts, we're getting an average right now of about
60
downloads. 70 downloads of our episodes. So there are people out there that are consuming our content, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
But we're not getting a lot of feedback either with, you know, comments, and nothing on iTunes or this and that, and so you're just like, is anyone enjoying this?
Hopefully.
Like, I don't know. I mean, people are consuming our content, but they're not saying anything about it. So,
but I think that will come in time, right?
That'll come in time. As people find us and go, hey, these guys are actually, maybe they know something.
Maybe.
Maybe they're looking at us going, who are these goons?
Yeah. But I think, like, if you were to go to a convention,
right,
and you were to meet someone there, and you say, oh, hey, I'm Jacob, would you then follow that up with, yeah, I'm a board game reviewer? At this point, if you were to go to a convention tomorrow, would that be how you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mainly because I want to help get our name out there. I want people to know who we are, and if you don't mention it, if you're not saying it, then no one's going to know, right?
Yeah.
So they're probably not. No one's going to know who we are at that convention.
Yeah.
Maybe one person. But
if the convention's big enough.
You know, yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting how you self-identify, and that's just kind of what I wanted to bring up. Is I'm not yet at the point where it's that's how I identify yet.
Right.
But I think, you know, just with time, we'll get there.
Yeah, I think going to a convention would also be a very big deal with this, because you're getting to meet people who are prominent in the industry.
Yeah.
And so by identifying with them, they get to know who you are. You get to know them a little more. You establish that connection. Maybe they check out your videos. They just start sending us games, or they mention us in their videos, or whatever. Once you get to hang out and you feel like you become more of the community. Yeah. At this point, we're on the outskirts of the community. Yeah. And we're just like talking into the community.
Yeah.
Whereas once we move in there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's when
we start becoming part of the cycle.
That's when I think I'll feel like a podcaster or a viewer, when we start getting those connections with other people in the industry. Then I'll feel that way.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of, you know, it leads into what are our motivations for doing this.
Right.
Like, right.
Money.
if you are in this for the money, you are in the wrong business.
Wrong idea.
But yeah, like for me right now, I'm doing it because it's an outlet to talk about games. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we were talking about it anyways. Let's just throw on a mic. Let's put it out there. See if anyone else agrees with the crazy ideas that we have. Like I'm not super interested in review copies of games at this point or anything. I'm interested in just talking about games and really talking about games that I like.
Right.
Because reviewing bad games, it's not something that I'm super excited about doing. And I found that since we started doing this, I've played a few games that I'm not really over the moon about.
Right.
Man, that's so draining. It's so draining to do a review of a game that you don't enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, even if the game is daunting in presence, with whatever the theme is, or maybe it's the length of the game being like 5-hour game or something. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I got this game coming in the mail, and it's gonna be 5 hours long. It's this theme that you don't like. It's gonna be so awesome. Let's play it, and you're just like, oh man, I hope that gets delayed in the mail.
Well, yeah, I think you probably kind of felt that way with Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, it's a long game. It's not a theme that you were super pumped about. So you're just like, oh, all right, let's just play it.
Let's just get this over with. Yeah.
But yeah, it can be draining. Definitely doing content for stuff that you're not excited about.
Yeah, and I think continue.
And I think that the direction that I want to stay with is really only putting out content for stuff that I enjoy.
Right.
Like if I don't want to just play everything and do reviews for everything and then just put out 50% bad reviews and 50% good reviews. Now we run the risk of people saying, well, you only ever talk about good games or give positive reviews. But I think right now with us having to pay for the games, that we review,
you don't want to just go out and buy all these bad games or games that you don't think you're going to enjoy.
Yeah, just to review them.
Exactly.
And I think it just keeps the energy up, right? Like if we're talking about a game and we're excited about it and we're super pumped, that's the kind of stuff I want to be talking about.
For sure. I think another issue that kind of outlines that is there's lulls in the industry. Yeah. Like right now we're in about a 2-3 month lull of nothing's happening. We're just starting to get into the con portion of the year. So new games are going to be coming out on the regular basis, and all the big names are going to be coming out. But in the last couple months, we haven't had any big games to go, oh yeah, this is the newest game. We want to cover this. This game excites us. Yeah. So it's been okay. We still need to produce videos, on the regular. Yeah. So we need some content to put out. What are we going to put out? Yeah. And that kind of falls into the range of maybe playing some games that we aren't super excited about, or one of us isn't super excited about, just so that we can continually put out content so that people aren't forgetting about us. Because we do want to become part of the industry, and if you're just throwing out a video once a month, no one's going to care about.
Right. You need to be consistent in what you're putting out. And I think also the dynamic, because there's two of us. Yeah. We talked about, people might have the opinion that we are very similar in our tastes, but that's because, to get a game to the table, we both have to have somewhat of an interest in playing the game. Yep. So usually we're, more likely to both agree on it. Like there were a couple of games that you had that came and you were talking about them, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't want to play this game.
Yeah, I find that my tastes, I get intrigued by things that are unique and very different, and it's not necessarily, oh, this looks like an amazing game. It's, oh, I've never seen this mechanic in a game before. Right. That's interesting to me. Whereas you might be like, oh, that has no interest to me whatsoever. Yeah. And then when a bigger game, a big hyped game comes out, I'm more willing, even if I don't like the theme, I'm willing to play it just because it's a hyped game and I want to say at least, hey, I've tried it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm drawn to particular games, and sometimes if it's like some of the games that you bring up, I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't want to play that. But for a lot of the hype games, definitely, and I also find that maybe Too, there's some like heavier style games that I'm like really excited about, but they are longer and stuff like that. So you're not as apt to play those.
Yeah, the 2-hour range is about my limit, unless it's something that really intrigues me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that game sounds really cool. Then okay, I'm willing to push that 3-hour time limit because of the cool mechanics or the cool theme or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Getting into this review nature stuff, and when are we going to feel like it, how long is it going to take to kind of establish ourselves?
Yeah,
and now, and that's kind of where I'm happy being at. Like, I just want to spend more time making videos, producing content, just getting used to doing it rather than jumping like headfirst into the community right away.
Right.
They kind of have like a pedigree. If you went up to someone and was like, "Hey, I'm a board game podcaster," and you're like, "Okay, well, how many episodes have you done?" "Oh, we've done 2."
Yeah.
Then they'll probably just like squint at you and be like, "Okay," and smile and wave goodbye. Whereas if you go up to someone and you're like, I'm a board game podcaster, and I've done 30, 40, 50 episodes, well, then it shows that you're dedicated.
Exactly.
And I think establishing ourselves, saying that we are dedicated to doing this is just going to take time, because
it's not just a whimsy that we're just doing
because
in our spare time,
because let's be honest, anyone can do this. Like, you need a camera, a microphone, and an internet connection. But I think the people who continuously do it and do it over long periods of time, they're the ones who establish themselves as, hey, I want to be doing this. I'm not just doing it for the little fame that you get.
And doing it because the hobby interests you and you want to contribute to that community and you want to start a conversation.
Cool.
So, that's awesome. Shall we move into our hotness, our sizzling hot?
Absolutely.
So a big game has been announced. It's available for pre-order, and that would be Seafall. So Seafall is the next in line for Legacy, effectively. And it's all about sailing around and exploring this world on the high seas and creating a civilization almost. So this is by Plaid Hat Games and Rob Davio. It's a game that I decided to back. Or I pre-ordered it, rather. This isn't Kickstarter, Jacob. We're going to get to that in a bit. I've pre-ordered this. If you pre-order through Plaid Hat Games, you actually get $100 metal coins added to your pre-order for free.
That's pretty sweet.
And that's of a $40 US value through Plaid Hat Games. So maybe that's the incentive you need to pre-order the game.
I'm excited for this one. I'm hoping it's going to be the legacy game that really grabs me.
Because Pandemic didn't do it for me.
No, Risk Legacy. I mean, I've heard it's a good game, but I mean, I'm not overly fond of Risk.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't played it
at all. Like dice rolling combat, I've said it a million times. It's not my jive.
Right.
But I did play Pandemic Legacy. That was okay. Not the greatest. Kind of let me down. But this one, I have a hope for.
Yeah, I heard an interview with Rob Davio, and it just seemed very intriguing, very in-depth. You're going around, you're discovering these new islands, and then you can interact with the things on those islands. And whatever you do has consequences that are going to come back later to maybe haunt you or maybe benefit you. It seems really cool. The fact that the game plays in about 15 gameplays or so, and then it's done and you can't play it anymore. The fact that I'm getting these metal coins, I'm just going to transfer those metal coins to my existing games that I can play over and over. So that was another feature that I was just like, I can get behind pre-ordering this for that purpose too. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be interesting. The legacy is something that I find very intriguing, and I hope that they do it right in... Not that they did it wrong in Pandemic, but I found it very linear, very obvious, Nothing jumped out and surprised me in that game. Or maybe one thing surprised me in that game.
Yeah.
But I want a story to be involving. I want a story to draw me in, and Pandemic Legacy did not do that at all.
This is the first Legacy game that isn't built on a pre-existing system.
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Right, because Risk was a pre-existing system. Yep. Pandemic was a pre-existing system. This is, hey, let's take the Legacy idea and let's do something completely new with it.
Yeah, for sure.
The theme seems really cool, like ship-faring game, like that's awesome. So I'm really excited. You know, you have all this space. You don't have to be constrained to the previous systems. What can you do?
Yeah,
and let's hope it's good.
Yeah, I think it will be. I don't want to put too high of hopes into it.
Yeah.
Just in case it does let me down. You know, the more you invest into an idea, the quicker it's going to let you down.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm just waiting for it to arrive.
And
we'll play the game, and I think I'm going to love it.
It's definitely interesting that I believe Rob said in an interview that he encourages people not to binge play it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's I think a good idea, because when we play Pandemic Legacy, we binged it in sessions. But I think with a game like this, you know, hopefully they're like you go away from the game and you spend, you know, the next week or next couple days, and you're thinking about what decisions you're going to make.
Yeah.
Because those decisions are going to have an impact for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Pandemic, you're kind of more just reacting to things happening, and then your reactions just cause things to happen in the game. You're more just preventing things from permanently changing the game.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you're more, I think, going to be taking the reins and actively making the decisions that are going to alter the course.
Yeah, and you're building a civilization in this game. You're trying to grow a civilization, and you don't want to make rash decisions. You don't just like on a whimsy say, oh yeah, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to attack with everything I got. I don't know if there's combat in the game or whatever, but throwing everything you got into one little basket and then being crippled for the rest of the game, I don't think they would throw that into the game too much, because they don't want someone to have to suffer through 15 games just like limping along. But
well, yeah, it'd be, I don't know is if there's any player elimination in this game.
I'm pretty sure in the interview I heard that there isn't any player elimination in the game.
Can you imagine a legacy style game with elimination? You buy the game, being like, okay, I'm gonna get one playthrough of it, and then you're eliminated in like the second game.
Everyone else in your game group just takes the game. Yeah, just pass it over. We'll finish it off.
Cough up the money, guys. I'm going to buy another copy. You guys can pay for this.
Oh, too funny. Yeah, so that is Seafall from Sizzle and Hot.
All right. I'm embarrassed.
Was there anything in the hotness that you wanted to talk about?
No, there's
there's nothing interesting.
There's a few things.
People are ridiculous, outrageous.
But they're kind of things that we've already talked a lot about before.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting for that next new hot thing to come out that I'm super excited about.
Sure. There are two things in the hotness, but I'm going to cover them in Kickstarter because I have a huge section of Kickstarter news that I want to get into here. So let's just go right ahead and do that.
Let's do it.
Kickstarter. All right. So
we should hold a vote of who
renaming it.
Who enjoys these little intros to these sections?
I do, Jeffrey, and that's what matters.
Oh, man.
That's what really matters. So, there's two Kickstarters that I want to kind of recover. I've talked about them already, but I found out new information about them, and I want to go ahead and cover them again, so to speak, just very quickly. The first is Dark Souls. So Dark Souls is cruising along. They are currently over 25,000 backers.
That's huge.
They are just under, at the point of recording, just under £3 million have been funded. By the time this comes, by the time this video is released, audio is released, it's going to be over, so you won't be able to get in unless they have like some late backing.
Right.
But the thing that I found out about this game was it's a lot like the Monster Hunter video game franchise, which, as I mentioned before, is one of my favorites. It has these, the monsters that you're fighting, they have these cards that they move, they attack, they leave themselves open. You need to maneuver around them to their weaknesses and hit them on their weak sides. It's just so intriguing. It's vicious. The game just crushes you. So I'm very interested. I said before I wasn't going to back it. I've decided now with all the stretch goals that they have met and the amount of extra content that you're getting, this is worth it. It's worth it. I got to back it.
I think you could build a house out of the amount of minis and plastic you have.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy a house, man. Just build one.
I mean, this is, I think, one of the biggest games on Kickstarter for tabletop games.
Yeah, it's huge. That's a lot of money.
I mean, pounds. It's in pounds. Like, huge. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that just because it's been such a huge hype and that new information that I found out about it and I've decided to back it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it'll. I definitely hope you back it.
Because you want to try it too?
Yeah, I want to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe
see if it's worth the hype.
There's so much plastic that even I'm tempted to get it.
For sure, yeah.
But
just set it up on the table or in your little cases off to the side and have them displayed.
Yeah, paint it all, get another case, set everything up.
Beautiful.
One
other thing I wanted to cover that I covered previously was a Kickstarter called Ave Roma. This was something that I gave a lot of hype towards. It was a worker placement Euro game. And what happened was the Kickstarter was canceled. And they have since re-put it back up on Kickstarter. The reason that they did this was multifold. First, they listened to what the backers and everyone talking about the game were saying, and they said they didn't like the art. So they went ahead and they changed the art. And they said the price point was too high. So they lowered the price point a little bit. And they said, the stretch goals, you're not giving us anything extra. You're just releasing these mini expansions that cost money. So they made a bunch of the mini expansions free in the stretch goals.
Right.
I mean, it's awesome that they're listening to what people are saying.
I like
they're not bending over backwards, but they're saying, okay, we hear what you're saying. Let's change this little thing. They changed a few graphic designs as well with the layout of the board because it wasn't really working.
I think that kind of epitomizes some of what the spirit of Kickstarter should be. Is you're coming to the people and you're saying, here's this project that I want to produce. Give me some money so that I can produce this project. Yeah. And going with that is, if you're going to be pledging money, you should have some say. So when you do say something and then they actually turn around and listen to that feedback, I think that's great. Yeah. I think that's really where the platform of Kickstarter can excel. Is that you can get that first round of feedback from the public of what do they want. Yeah.
Yeah, so it really excited me when I found this information out. I contacted the designer or the publisher and said, "Hey, what's going on? Why did you restart?" And they gave me all this information. I was ecstatic. This is a game that I'm going to be backing as well. Some of the other things that were impressive about this was they actually already have the game complete for the most part. Yeah. They have a couple things that are already in queue with the manufacturer, the last couple bits, like the game board and the rule book. So the game is actually going to be shipped out within 3 months of finishing the Kickstarter back to the backers. Which is just awesome. I mean, that's so cool. I wanted to find out, how is this possible? And it's because they already have everything made, and what isn't made is already in queue with the manufacturer.
That's great.
So
you don't have to wait a whole like 3 years.
Exactly.
To get your Kickstarter.
Exactly. And because everything's basically already done, you're basically going to get this thing if you back it.
Yeah.
Currently, it's €50 now to back this game. Free pickup at Essen. Otherwise, it's about €5 to Canada. I think US is free now. Certain other parts of the world go as high as 35 additional euros, which hurts.
Yeah.
But go check that out if it's interesting.
I'm assuming if they're in the parts of the world where they have to spend €35 for shipping, they're used to spending that much money shipping.
For sure. So there's going to be 14 days remaining in that Kickstarter as well. So jump on that if that sounded interesting to you. At least check it out. So those are the two ones that I'd already mentioned that I wanted to get covered again because of some new information. A new Kickstarter, Plague Inc., the board game. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before.
No, I haven't.
There was an app, like an iPhone app called Plague Inc., where you are the virus.
Yeah.
And you're trying to infect and kill everyone on Earth.
That's a cool theme.
Which is, it's really unique. I played the app before. I had it on my phone. It was interesting.
Yeah.
They now have made a board game version of this, they're trying to make it on Kickstarter. It has been funded. It's $30 American to back, which is
pretty cheap price point.
Yeah, it's a good price point. It's 2 to 4 players. You're a disease, and you evolve throughout the game. So first you might transmit by touch or by fluids, and then you might evolve to transmit through the air.
Yeah.
You have symptoms, like you might just give people a fever or you give them diarrhea.
Oh man, any game where I can give people diarrhea?
You can have like
that.
fatal effects on organs, and you're slowly killing people off. You want to be able to transmit well, so you can spread across the world. It's not cooperative. It's a versus game, so everyone is a different disease trying to conquer.
That was my question. Mm-hmm. Is this cooperative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like special event cards, like you can hold the Olympics. And so like people from all over the world come to one place so you can spread quicker.
Yeah.
So there's all these like really unique kind of interesting things that happen, and you're just like, the fact that you're this evolving disease was such a unique theme behind it. I had to mention this and the good price point. So
yeah, that does seem pretty cool. I'm gonna have to check into this one.
Yeah. It doesn't look overly amazing.
Right.
Graphic design wise, I'm not overly thrilled, but the gameplay seems interesting. I'm going to watch this. I may back it since it's a low price point.
Right.
You're not risking much, right?
Right.
So that's one to check out. Man, we've got so many here. So many things I need to talk about. So much Kickstarter goodness.
Your wallet's going to be hurting.
Oh, I know, man. It's going to hurt. The next game from Mind Clash Games, which is the company that did Trickerion Legends Illusion, which I backed and which we covered. It was one of our first games that we covered on our YouTube channel. So they have a new game called Anachrony, and this is a 2 to 4 player worker placement time travel game.
Yeah.
Basically what has happened is in the future, a meteor is coming down and it's going to destroy the planet.
Okay.
And so the people from the future have contacted the people in the past and said, "Hey, this meteor is coming. You need to make stuff happen." And so you take place in the past, and you're trying to set things up so that you're ready for when this meteor comes. And you can ask for people from the future to send you resources from the future, so that can help you prepare. But you also need to have those resources accessed in the past so that you actually have it in the future to send back to yourself.
Yeah, like you...
So you create these... If you don't do that, you create these time anomalies, which are going to punish you.
Yeah. So
you need to make sure that you're making things happen according to the future so that the future can send you back resources.
That's pretty cool.
Oh man, mind-blowing.
That's pretty cool.
Mind-blowing. I don't know too much more about this theme, but...
That reminds me of the movie The Watchmen.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't watched this in years, but I remember the one thing, the really smart guy, what he did was he started funneling all this money into the research of this particular particle.
Okay.
So that in the future they would be experimenting with it more, and there'd be more of these particles around, which interfered with Dr. Manhattan's ability to see the future.
Interesting.
So that Dr. Manhattan,
I don't remember this movie. I've seen it.
Couldn't figure out couldn't anticipate what he was doing by looking into the future. So it's kind of reminds me of the same thing. You're doing something now so that it'll have an impact in the future to help you out.
Right. But man, these guys, I love Tricarion.
Yeah.
First off, so I'm backing this because I believe in these guys. Rado runs through. He has covered this game. He did a good review. He gives it high reviews.
Yeah.
High rating. So you can check out that if you want to find out more about this game. It's let's get some information here. There's going to be about 20 days left in the Kickstarter at the time of this audio podcast. And it's going for about $60 for the basic version of the game. The basic version just comes with tokens, tiles. The advanced version for $80 has minis for your workers instead of little tiles.
Let me guess what you're going for.
Yeah, the minis. The minis look awesome, and you take your workers and you set them inside of each of the minis, so you put them out.
Yeah.
The game looks so cool. So cool. So that's one to keep your eye on. What else do we got here? I'm going to jump down to this one. There is a new Kickstarter, the Game Folio system. So last time we covered the game Canopy, which is about carrying your games around. The Game Folio system gives you a kind of briefcase pouch system where you put all your components in here so you don't have your box. Okay, so you set the box aside, you take all the components, it fits into all separate pouches that are in these little briefcase portfolios, and then you can get a bunch of these and either just keep them on your shelf as that instead of in your game box, and they have a duffel bag specifically built to hold these, so you just take them out, you throw them in your duffel bag. It's more of a alternate storage system than it is carrying your stuff around, but it's kind of both. It's a 2-in-1.
That's interesting.
The price point is heavy. It's $25 for one case, which covers one game.
Yeah.
$85 will give you 4 cases.
Discount?
And if you spend $100, you get the duffel bag, but the duffel bag doesn't come with any of the cases.
Okay.
$150 will give you the duffel bag and 4 cases. And I think the duffel bag can hold 4 to 6 of these different cases in it.
So how... Because, I mean, games come in all different shapes and sizes and numbers of components. Like, could, like, one of these cases hold, like, 3?
If you had, like, some really small games, possibly. I didn't delve too much into this Kickstarter because the price point and what it was didn't appeal to me. But I figured it could be something that other people are interested in, so I wanted to mention it.
Well, I definitely don't think it's something that would interest you because, I mean, you even keep the boxes for empty expansion boxes on your shelf. So
yeah, I like to display my games. And they showed these, I think they call them portfolios, but they show these little briefcase things on the shelf, and you can't tell what game it is.
Right.
It's like a bunch of binders just sitting side by side.
Yeah.
And there's no labeling system on it or anything. You'd have to like pull it out, unzip it, open it up. Oh, what components are these?
Yeah, I mean, I spend so much time just staring at my game shelf that I don't want to be robbed of that.
Right.
And I mean, the box. I mean, some people just get rid of boxes willy nilly. But I mean, I'll get rid of expansion boxes. Don't get me wrong. But I like the base game box. You know, it's part of the game. It has some cool artwork on it. It's nice to look at. It also is very colorful. You know, you have people over, bring them into the room. They're like, you know, whoa, what's this? Whereas if you just had like binders on the shelf, they probably wouldn't.
They wouldn't care.
Why do you have shelves full of binders?
Yeah, I think like the box art's what's going to draw new people or your friends into playing these games. They're going to come down, see your collection, and be like, oh man, what's this? Oh, I like the name of this game. Yeah. What's that all about? Whereas if you have them hidden away, maybe that's what you want, but
yeah, I mean,
I like to showcase my stuff. So.
I know there's the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Like I'll like even like I'll go through like chapters or something. I'll walk through the aisles and like I'll pick out books just solely based on the cover.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that works for me. Sometimes not so much. But you need to have a good packaging for your product.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing goes true for board games. You want to have something that's going to grab people, is going to pull them in. Because if you're in a game store and you're walking through, I mean, some little itty bitty hand drawn, stick figure cover isn't gonna pull people in.
Yeah.
So I think that's why people put so much time and effort into these covers, and especially like some companies even brand themselves on the covers, right? Like a Watch Your Game game. Like if you have them all lined up, you're like, yep, that's definitely a Watch Your Game game.
Exactly.
Right. So there's a lot that you can do with covers, and I think they're good to be displayed.
Yeah, I think the world kind of revolves around first impressions.
Oh, definitely.
Everything you do, everything you see, you're going to have a first impression, and that like kind of lends itself to our before and after videos, where we do this is our expectations based off the limited knowledge that we have, because we have those expectations.
Yeah.
And then we play the game, and these are our first impressions based off of just playing the game one time, and this is what you're going to kind of feel. This is what you're going to see the first time you play this game.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we've had a few comments about, it's not a review. It's not a before. Like the before and afters that we do are not reviews of games.
Right.
They're not meant to give you a full review. They're meant to give you our first impressions.
Yeah. Like
how if it's a game that's super hyped, does it live up to the hype after that first play?
Right.
Are we excited after the first play? Do we want to get it to the table some more? Because I don't care how great a game is, but if you aren't pulled in after that first play, you're not likely going to be going back to it again and again to enjoy it.
Exactly.
So the Secret Cabal, they were talking about Dead of Winter.
Okay.
And they were like, they wanted to like that game.
Right.
They didn't like it after the first impression. They kept playing it again and again. And like, man, like, what are we missing? We're missing something here. But very, very often you know what you like as a gamer, right? And very often your first impression ends up being, true 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So if you aren't excited after that first play, you're probably not going to be excited after your 10th.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was what we call a tangent here in Canada.
And elsewhere in the world.
So that's the game Folio System. If that's something that did intrigue you, maybe you have storage issues, maybe you just want to throw everything into one bag, not have to worry about carrying around boxes or getting them damaged, maybe you travel a lot, whatnot, you can go check that out. There's going to be 14 days left in that Kickstarter at the time of this recording, or at the time that this is published, I should say.
Yeah.
So I got 2 more Kickstarters I want to talk about here.
Whew, Kickstarter might be a lull in the regular game industry, but Kickstarter's on fire.
Kickstarter's on fire, that's for sure. This War of Mine. There's going to be 12 days remaining in this Kickstarter at the time that this is published. It is a 2 to 4 player co-op, so I know you can just tune out now if you want. It's a post-apocalyptic game. It's a survival game. Now, there was a couple things that I wanted to bring up with this, the reason why I put it in our Kickstarter. First off, you have apparently, you have really tough moral decisions that you need to make over the course of this game, which that's always intriguing. Yeah. Having to make tough decisions, bracing yourself for the impact of those decisions, because there is a feedback loop in this game where if you make a bunch of poor decisions, it's going to come back and haunt you.
Yeah.
So that's cool. There are apparently 1,000 unique adventures that you can come across, which are just you're going to read out of a book. similar to Above and Below.
How thick is this book?
Yeah, I don't know. Another cool aspect of this game, and this was probably one of the biggest things that drew me towards it, was it's a open the box and play mentality. You don't need to read through the rule books. You just open the box, you pull out the components, and apparently you can just start playing. Maybe there is a little quick start where you just read like one page and you can get going, but apparently you don't need to read through the entire rule booklet to start playing, and it teaches you as you go throughout this game. There's also a huge campaign system, so you can play a one-off game, or you can play through the length of a year if you want to. There's a save mechanic where you save all the information that you've got. It has like a special section, I guess, of the box to put that information aside.
This is sounding like an RPG.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
You know, you're cooperatively, having to make these decisions and being able to save from game to game, doing a campaign.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it intrigued me. It's not something that I'm going to back. It's something that I'm probably going to play at some point. I might buy it when it comes out to retail, but I don't feel like the Kickstarter's offering anything super unique, no extras, nothing that, you got to have it right now.
Right.
So I think it's something that I'm going to sit on. I'll see what other people think of it, and then I'll play it later if need be. It's 50 euros is the entry point, and then it goes up from there. If that sounds interesting, any of that intrigued you, you can go to their Kickstarter page and check that out. That was This War of Mine. And the last Kickstarter, save the best for last.
The best, better than that Mind Clash game.
Oh,
Anachron.
Yeah. This is $1 million, but ... the game. So this is a game done by Rooster Teeth.
So first off, we were talking about the box cover for a game has to kind of pull you in. I think the name too.
Yes, I think that's very important.
Should pull you in. That name is not pulling me in.
No, not doing it for you. Eh?
No, if I was scrolling through a list and I saw that, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, I feel you. So this is by Rooster Teeth. Now, I know Rooster Teeth has a couple things. They've got a YouTube channel. It's a little comedy thing. This is based off of that YouTube channel.
Okay.
Where they just do, okay, you can have $1 million, but here's the scenario. Here's the drawback to having that $1 million.
Okay.
And you're trying to make these funny things to make people at the table laugh. This, I look at this as the poor man's Cards Against Humanity.
Okay.
It's take Cards Against Humanity and the kind of unsophisticated humor of that. This takes it down a notch to a less sophisticated humor.
Even less than unsophisticated?
It's a complete ripoff. It's 100% ripoff of Cards Against Humanity. It even looks exactly like Cards Against Humanity, except it has a different back on the cards.
Yeah.
Like that's it. This has 16,000 backers as of right now.
Yep.
At the time of this recording, it's made $750,000.
Respectable.
There's going to still be 22 days remaining. You basically have a card that says you get $1 million and gives you a little bit of information, and then you put down a funny alternate card like this is the consequence of having that $1 million.
Yeah.
That's it.
So a couple things about this is I don't like games where they try to make you laugh like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not a huge fan of outrageous comedy movies either.
Right.
Like Adam Sandler, like his new stuff. Not a huge fan. Like, yeah, I'm almost 30 years old. There isn't much that I haven't heard.
Right.
Like, you're not going to shock me with anything.
Right.
Like, so going through all these like crazy things that kind of shock me, it isn't funny. I love more subtle type humor. And I love humor that comes from like, you know, you have an experience and there's this joke that comes up and then you kind of weave that joke into other things that that happen either in a game or in a group, stuff like that. Like you have all these inside jokes with your group and then
that's real humor.
You work it in. But all these things were just trying to like shock and awe
shock value
and make you laugh. No, there's nothing that can be said that's going to shock me anymore.
Right.
Like growing up with the internet, you're not going to get shocked by much.
No, not really.
So trying to do this in a board game, no.
I will say I've played Cards Against Humanity, and it had its moments. It made me laugh a little bit. This game, just complete ripoff, as far as I can tell. There's almost nothing new about it, and I don't see how it can make this much money and have this many backers. It disappoints me. But, you know, maybe you're into that type of humor. Maybe you love Cards Against Humanity. You thought that was a great game. This is going to be more of the same. So if you like that, then maybe check this out.
That might be what it is for people, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, well, I played Cards Against Humanity. There's nothing left in that game to surprise me. Maybe there's something in this one that'll do it.
Right.
I've never played Cards Against Humanity,
right?
But I played a game Personally Incorrect, which I believe is the exact same game.
I haven't heard of that one. I don't know.
Like you read a card and it's a sentence, and then you had to put out cards. Everyone
to
puts
fill the blanks.
Everyone puts out a card to fill the blank, and then you vote on who has the craziest card.
Yep.
And it's like ha 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 ha.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what this seems like as well. So the basic starting entry for this is $25. If you want the expansion, you can spend $35. This is all US. If you spend $75 though, you get a challenge coin.
Woo!
They don't even tell you what a challenge coin does. Or what it is. Maybe if you watch the Rooster Teeth $1 Million Butt videos, maybe there's an inside joke there.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't say anything about it on the Kickstarter. It's just you can pay an extra $40 for a challenge coin.
Nice.
And then you can pay like $100 to $2,500 to get onto their episodes.
Okay.
So if you want to be a part of their show, part of their YouTube channel, there's different ways you can get in on that. But yeah, that's it. I wanted to mention that one just because kind of, I don't know, it's a mind blower how this game can make this much money when it doesn't seem like a game to me. Yeah.
For the same reason, Monopoly is probably the game that makes the most money every year.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right? It's no barrier of entry to anyone. They want more of the same.
Yeah.
You know.
But we don't want to bash you. If this is your cup of tea, if this is a game that really intrigues you and you get a lot of enjoyment out of playing that, then that's awesome. You know, you heard about it here first. So
probably not.
So get on that, and if that's interesting to you, I don't know. 22 days are going to remain in that one.
Okay.
At the time that this is produced. So that's it. That's all I had for Kickstarter.
All right.
Woo! That was a lot of stuff.
That was a lot of Kickstarter stuff.
A lot of Kickstarter stuff. And maybe next week we'll have nothing.
So
who knows?
I think that kind of leads into our main topic, as how much your wallet is going to hurt.
Yeah.
From all this.
Yeah, it's going to hurt a lot.
So let's...
It's going to be like $400 lighter or something at the end of this week.
So let's just jump right into the main topic, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
What makes a game worth it?
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, for me, I mean, there's all sorts of different factors. Some of those being, how much are you going to play this game?
Right.
So how much are you going to benefit out of it? How much in enjoyment so it's just like the play value. It's just like, how much are you going to use this product? Not even like enjoyment value. But then there's enjoyment on top of that. If this gives you playing it once, but it's the best experience in the world,
Right.
then it's going to be worth a lot more. It's going to have a higher value than just playing it a lot, right?
Right. So I think there's a couple different. What do we mean by worth?
Right.
Is it so? There's a couple different ways I'm tackling this. Is it worth the money
Yeah.
that I'm going to be spending?
Worth time.
Worth the time that I'm going to be spending
Sure.
playing this game. And is it going to be worth the mental investment? Is it a game that I'm going to have to spend 300 hours learning how to play, how to master before it's going to be enjoyable?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a couple different ways to look at worth, and when you say is a game worth it, you're not necessarily always talking about money,
Right.
but we'll look at that as well. But I just thought of something then when you said, if you play a game once and it's like the best experience that you ever had, is it worth it? And I kind of draw a parallel to that to, like, say, skydiving.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you spend a lot of money,
Like $800, $400.
and you get a few minutes.
Yeah.
But the impact of that experience is so profound that you're like, yeah, that was worth the money that I spent. And sometimes people get all up in arms about, I have this game that I can only play, Pandemic Legacy, maximum 24 times, and I'm paying $60 for it.
Right.
Well, that's like 40 hours of something for $60.
Okay, you're getting a lot out of that game. I mean, really.
Yeah. But if you were to go like bungee jumping, if you were to go to like a fancy restaurant, like I went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant once before because I wanted to go to one of his restaurants. I mean, that was expensive. And you're getting a couple hours and a bit of food.
$200 bill at the end?
Oh, more than that.
More than that? Three, four?
About $250.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was only with water.
It wasn't even without the $100 bottle of wine.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I definitely think that if it is a great enough experience, no matter how much time you get out of it, I think it can be worth it.
Right.
So I'm gonna jump in, and I want to talk about money first.
Okay.
And how I look at is a game worth the money that I'm going to be spending on it. Because we kind of talked a little bit about this before with like deluxe versions of games and stuff. So from a very young age, ever since I started working and making money, right, I always looked at, am I going to get more time out of using this product as the amount of time that I have to spend making the money to buy it? So if I made $10 an hour, and I spent $60 on something, I need to get at least 6 hours out of it
to make it worth.
And that's from the time when I worked in a fish plant as a teenager.
Right.
I was making like $5 an hour,
okay,
and I would like go to the city and I would think about buying something. I would be like, okay, am I going to get enough out of this to make all the hours I spent working worth it?
Or in the reverse, would you do your job for X amount of hours in order to pay for this?
Yeah. And books were a great return on that investment.
Right.
Like you spend $10 on a 1,000-page book, and you're getting hours and hours and hours out of that. So
yeah, we're slow readers.
Yeah, I'm a slow reader. But yeah, that's one way I look at it. So if I'm going out and I'm going to buy a $60 game, I look at, well, this is how much I make an hour. Am I going to get at least that out of it? And yeah, like for most games, you're going to get that out of that game.
Yeah, I don't use this method very often, but I have on occasion, mostly with kind of time stories, with once and done games.
Yeah.
Where you have limited play. Whereas if it's another game that I don't know how much enjoyment and I can play it as much as I freely want to, I don't really use this method.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that doesn't apply to everything, right? Mm-hmm. Because with that system, basically every game is worth the money that you spend. If you get an hour out of a game,
you hate your job.
But it also leads into how much enjoyment You know, if I just spend 2 hours playing a game, that doesn't mean it's worth the 2 hours that I had to work to buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a measuring stick more than an absolute,
Right.
For me.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah.
So is there any special things that you kind of take into account when you look at spending money on a game?
The main thing that I do is I look what I'm getting in that game as far as component wise. I'm very materialistic in that way.
Yeah.
When I look at what a game is, what its cost is, I want to see what am I actually getting in this box. If it's a couple pieces of paper and it's $60 or a couple of sheets of cardboard,
yeah.
Really? I don't want to pay that much. If I'm getting tons of cool miniatures that I can like stand up, even when I'm not playing the game, I can look at it and be like, oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Then I'm more lenient towards a higher price point. Right. If I'm getting those cool shiny bits, metal coins, or, you know, highly graded pieces, then sure, I'm more lenient towards spending more. But if I'm getting just basic materials, then I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for that.
Yeah, and I think in the board game industry, I think we don't get a whole lot of where games don't fall within the right price point. If a game is mostly card based, you see usually a lower price point. If there's lots of minis and stuff like that, you see a higher price point.
Well, I'm gonna disagree slightly in just that in Canada the price point is a lot higher for everything.
Yeah, but I mean
a lot higher.
But I mean that's true across the whole board, right? It's not like this game is a deck of cards and it's $100. Why is it $100?
Yeah, but because the price range is so much higher, you get a wider range.
Yeah.
Like here, I know I listen to a lot of Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and they're always talking about price point of games all the time. And the average price point of a game that they talk about is right around $30, and the max is about $45, and that's like every game. Yeah. I think something like what was it? Nothing Personal, which I paid I think 77 Canadian for Nothing Personal. It might have even been more than that. Down there it was $42. Yeah. So it's almost double the price.
Right.
Which is huge. So with a lower price point down there, the range between a card game and a miniatures game is only going to be like maybe $10.
Yeah, but it's multiplied because we're in Canada.
Exactly. So up here it's more like a $30 different price range.
And
$40.
And two, you have games like coming from Europe, like imported games. Those are.
And it's always free shipping too. That's the other big thing for Canada. The shipping price point, it's like a minimum $10 and average about $20 to ship just one game. So in America, shipping is generally free.
Yeah.
For everyone, they never have to pay anything extra.
Yeah. So usually I save up my money, and well, I don't really save up my money, but I save up the games that I want to buy, and I buy them in bigger chunks. Yeah. So that, you know, usually if you spend over a certain amount, you can get free shipping.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about $200 here, average $170, $250 if you spend that range at most Canadian online retailers. They will ship your stuff for free.
Well, and the other thing that goes into is a game. What makes a game worth it is buying online versus in store. Mm-hmm. Like
it's at least a $10 difference.
Oh, at least. Yeah. Like there's some stores where if you're looking at a $60 game online, like you're looking at $75, $80, and if you're looking at like the games that are like $90 to $100, you're looking at $30 difference. Yeah. Like you can buy almost an entire other game. Yeah. From what you would pay in store. Yeah. So I do 95% of my shopping online just because I can get more bang for my buck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of money to spend on the hobby, so when I do buy something, I want to get the most value, so I'm always going to buy online. Yeah. The rare occasion that I'm going to buy something in store is if it's a gift, and it's kind of last minute and I didn't prepare and I need to go buy something for someone, I might go pick it up in the store. Or maybe it's an exclusive item that I can't get anywhere else that I really wanted. No one has it in stock online. I might find it at a store, inflated price, but I might be willing to pay for it if I really want that.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into the next point that I wanted to make, that if it's a game that I know that I like I've either played it from someone else's collection, I've played it at a convention or something like that, and I know I like it, basically the price becomes irrelevant to me.
Okay.
Like you had mentioned before about Grand Austria Hotel. That's about about a $75.
Yeah, that blew my mind when I found that out.
$75 price point here in Canada.
It's $35 in the US, by the way.
That's so.
And they were like Blue Peg, Pink Peg were just like, oh, $35. I don't know, that's pretty heavy price for that game.
Yeah, that's.
And I was like, we paid $75.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's online.
That's online. That's not even in store. In store, it's like 90 something.
Yeah, so. For me, because like if I didn't own Grand Austria and I had played it from someone else's collection, would I go out and spend the $75 to get it into my collection? Say if they moved away and I couldn't play it any other way.
Right.
Yes. If it's a game that I know I like, or am pretty confident that I'm going to like, the price doesn't really enter into it for me, because to me, I want the enjoyment, more than I want the money that I'm going to spend. Now, up to a certain point, now obviously I'm not going to go out and spend $1,000 on a copy of Grand Austria Hotel. That would be a little bit of a harder pill to swallow. But I mean, the difference between spending $50 or $100 on something, if I really enjoy it, I'll spend the $100 every time.
Yeah, that's tough for me. Yeah, it would just have to depend on how much I would want to play that game.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't in my collection before, why wasn't it in my collection? I guess maybe just because you had it or something.
Right.
I don't know if I don't think that would influence me at all.
How much you enjoyed
the
game?
If I knew that I enjoyed the game already, I would just kind of see that as side extra information that I have.
Right.
Versus a game where I've only seen a review and it's just like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this game. I think it kind of solidifies the value of the game. I know how much I want to spend on it. It's not like, oh, I'm able to waive the difference of $30 because I know I like the game. It's no, I think the game is worth X amount. Because I played the game, I know how much I value it. It's this set value. If it's not that value, I'm not going to pay it.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between us. Whereas I think you, like you said, you make, okay, I played Grand Austria Hotel. I think it's worth, say, $60.
Yeah.
And then if you go and look at the price and it's $70, then you're like, that's
too much, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, it's too much, I'm not going to buy it. Whereas I'm like, I really like Grand Austria Hotel. I just go add to cart.
Yeah, it's $10 difference than what I thought. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and buy the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's a difference between us.
A difference between us. But again, I mean, I don't obviously recommend that for everyone.
So I have something I want to bring up here based off of that. And from the sounds of it, it's not going to be a factor for you. But have you ever had a buyer's remorse with a board game? Have you ever bought a game and been like, oh man, I shouldn't have bought that game?
From a financial standpoint,
yeah.
No.
I mean, that's what we're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I bought games and been like, wow, that isn't worth the the cardboard it's printed on.
I'm assuming you're thinking of like Forge Wars because you kickstarted that and you didn't really have the information. You got it and it wasn't worth what you thought what you paid.
But still, I'm not like, oh my god, I just threw $60 or $80 down the drain. No, I'm not. I don't usually have buyer's remorse.
Right.
Because there's been very few games where I've purchased and disliked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree. For me, I don't really get the buyer's remorse either, just because if it is a game that I don't enjoy, I'm either going to trade it away or sell it. And then I see myself as losing $10, losing maybe 30 at most between what I bought it for and what I'm selling it for.
Yeah, I think that's something that's excellent in this hobby, is that you can kind of reclaim some of that money, that worth by trading.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Like, it isn't a complete wash. I mean, like, I traded Forge War away, or actually I think I sold it, so I recouped like $30 of my money for that. So it isn't a complete wash. Plus, it's an extra game that I got to play.
Yeah, you got to try it. It was an experience. Maybe you learned a mechanism that you really like, or something you hated.
Yeah.
And now you know to stay away from that or something. So you're getting something out of it. It's not like you're getting nothing unless you bought a game, didn't play it, and then sold it for less.
Yeah.
Which I've done that too.
Awesome. Excellent.
I'm awesome at this. I am a businessman at heart.
You got to put it as previously owned on your Board Game Geek collection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's true.
So yeah, I think kind of just to summarize, when it comes to financial, I mean, I'm well off financially. I don't have to
lucky you, Jeffrey.
Nickel and dime what I spend my money on. So if I see a deluxe edition for $250,
right,
I'll go pay $250 for it. Even like with Dungeon Lords, I don't even remember how much I paid for the deluxe edition. No idea. I could have paid $300. I have no clue how much I paid for it. And I even had a previous copy of Dungeon Lords.
Right.
But to me, it was worth it just to have the deluxe edition. Now, am I going to recommend that for everyone to go and buy additional copies of games they already own just to have a new version? No, because I realize that, you know, not everyone has the money to spend, and they have to be more selective in what they buy. But for me, if it's something that I'm pretty confident that I'm going to like, I'll spend what it costs.
Right.
I'm much more confident spending $100 on a game that I'm pretty confident I'm going to like than spend $50 on two different games that I think I may like.
Sure, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think going into the next kind of worth, like how much time it takes to play the game, how much time I think that's somewhere else where we differ a little bit in how much time we're willing to spend playing a game, and is it worth sitting down and playing that game if you're spending that much time playing it.
Right.
For me, I kind of describe myself as an hour to an hour and a half gamer. That's where like 90% of the games that I play fall within.
I'd say the same for myself.
But I'm more than willing to sit down and spend hours and hours playing a game if I really enjoy it.
Right.
And also vice versa. If a game is 20 minutes, that doesn't automatically give it a pass. You know, some people are like, oh, well, it's a 20-minute game. Who cares how great it is? No, that's a waste of 20 minutes. I'm more upset by wasting that 20 minutes than I am, you know, of spending 6 hours playing a game I enjoy.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Sure.
So
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spending 6 hours doing something you love versus something you hate. You can say that about anything.
Yeah, well, even if it's not something I love, but if I was like, okay, that was okay, and I spent 6 hours doing it, I think that for me is better than being like 20 minutes of something that I was just like, ugh.
Not a chance for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather get it over with and get on something new. Also, like I don't like games that take longer than 2 hours. If it's going over 2 hours, I really need to love the theme. I need to love like everything about that game. Even Super Dungeon Explorer, which is a great game that I love a lot of things about that game. When it hits the 2 hour mark, I'm like, this needs to finish up real quick because I'm done. And that's a game I like. So so it's got to be amazing. It needs to pull me in, and I just need to be mind-boggled by everything that's happening in that game for me to play longer. I will say that I would rather play consecutive smaller games. I'd be much happier doing like 6 1-hour games. And like, I have no problem playing games for 6 hours. That's a non-issue for me. But they all need to be like 1-hour games. So it's a fresh start. There's new things happening. And it feels new and exciting. Whereas if I'm playing one thing for 6 hours straight, it gets dull really quickly.
Yeah. So then for you, what makes a game worth the amount of time is you just always need to be new stuff.
I need to be engaged.
Yeah.
And I find if I'm doing the same thing repetitively over and over, I'm at some point I'm not going to be engaged anymore. That can engage me. How long is that going to engage me for? So it's the time issue of this mechanic's going to engage me for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. This theme's going to engage me for like another 30. Yeah. And then, I'm done.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting how much time we're willing to spend on any one activity. Mm-hmm. Because there's no game in the world that, well, unless you're talking like an RPG, where the 6th hour is radically different from the first hour.
Right.
Like,
right.
If you play Twilight Imperium 3...
Except for maybe like Seafall or something like that. You don't know. Might be.
Maybe. But, the game is the same. The mechanics are the mechanics of the game. The rules don't change halfway through a game like that. Like I think Twilight Imperium, you're doing things maybe at a different scale at the 6 hour mark. Different things may be on the line, but you're still doing the same things. You're still activating systems, building units, moving units, doing combat. So for me, that I'm okay with doing that over and over, but I like my motivations to progress throughout the game. It's not so much about doing the same thing over and over. I want my motivations for doing this particular type of action to kind of grow into something else as the game progresses.
Okay.
Like we had talked about before, Star Wars Rebellion. Mm-hmm. Like you're doing the same sorts of actions throughout the entire game. Yep. You're assigning guys to missions. You're moving units. You're looking here. You're looking there. As the rebels, you're moving away. But for me, I feel the motivation and the tension just continuously builds as the game progresses. So the experience of doing that same action at the end of the game is different than what is at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And for me, that makes a game worth the time that I'm spending. I can definitely see if I'm doing the exact same thing at the 3rd hour, and my motivation for doing the same thing at the 3rd hour
is the exact same thing.
Then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
To me, if Phase 10, I talk about how much I hate that game, but you're doing the same thing. You're drawing a card, and you're just trying to.
How long is Phase 10?
I don't know. Too long. However long it is, like that game isn't worth 30 seconds of play.
Right.
To me, because you're just doing the same thing. You draw a card off the top. I'm making a set of 4. Oh, I'm making a set of 5 this time. Great.
Right.
But to me, what makes a game worth the amount of time is a story arc. I don't care necessarily if I'm doing something different, but am I in a different place at the end?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say I'm similar in a lot of ways. But again, it's for a shorter duration.
Right.
I feel the same way, except my limit is still an hour and 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Yep.
And by that time, if it's not a new game, if it's not fresh and exciting, then I feel like I'm just done.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm willing to see a longer game as being worth it. I mean, the game still has to be worth it. I still have to be engaged with the mechanics. But likewise, if I hear a game is 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I want to be able to get something out of my game. Like if I was going to a restaurant and they're like, "Oh, here's a saucer of some meal," I'm like, "Well, it's not even worth me sitting down and eating the meal." right?
Right.
I'm just like, I want something to sink my teeth into. So if I can't sink my teeth into something, usually I'm like, it's not even worth the small amount of time it is to play the game.
Right.
Give me something meaty.
Right.
You know,
So how do you feel about a game like Coup then? Do you very much dislike Coup or?
Coup, I could take it or leave it.
Right.
It's one of those games where you can easily get to the table with more than 5 people.
I guess the entertaining value of you get a couple laughs, you get some interesting humorous moments that happen over a short period of time. So I guess that's again part of the worth, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing something like Zombie Dice, where you're just rolling dice, pushing your luck for 15 minutes,
yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah,
you're not getting enough out of that. Whereas Coup, you're getting the humor, you're getting the player interaction, or the social interaction, I should say, not even with the game.
Yeah.
The social interaction, the humor, and
it's not always the amount of time is indicative of how much is there for a game. Like Spyfall, a round of Spyfall is like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But I get a lot out of those 8 minutes because my mind is working. Like I'm really sinking my teeth into those 8 minutes.
Sure.
I'm fully engaged for that amount of time. So it's not always just because it's 15 minutes long. It's not going to be worth it. But I need to get something out of that 15 minutes.
Right.
And I find a lot of times those shorter games it's just motions. You go through motions and then you're like, okay, I played the game, but you didn't really actively engage your mind.
Sure.
And as long as I can be actively engaged for the duration of a game, that's what makes it worth it to me. Like if you haven't seen the Tenzi review that Chaz Marler does, go to YouTube, look at Chaz Marler's Tenzi review. It's awesome. That game takes about 10 seconds to play. Like it's a review, but actually it's a full playthrough.
Yeah, a live playthrough in like 15 seconds
of the game. That game isn't worth the 10 seconds.
No,
that it takes to play it.
No,
not at all.
Watching the video is worth it though.
Oh, watching the video.
That's a glorious video.
So yeah, and then the other thing that I wanted to touch on is like how much time does it take to get into a game? To either learn the rules, get comfortable with the mechanics to the point where you're able to play it.
Right.
What makes a game worth that? And what comes to mind for me is Magic the Gathering. Like if you want to play that game in any sort of competitive setting aside from just cracking open a pre-built deck with your buddy, you're gonna get you're going to get your butt handed to you by everyone. So there is a lot of time that you had to put in outside of the game before you're actually good at it. And is that amount of time worth it for that game?
It completely depends on your enjoyment factor. I think that one comes down to enjoyment factor. If you love this game, if the theme grabs you and you find it super interactive and you're just like, man, this is the coolest thing, spending that time doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I mean, you're putting forth a little bit of time to get good at this game, to amplify your enjoyment of the game. So its worth is just multiplied by the time you're spending. Whereas if it's not multiplying, if you're just spending 4 hours and you're not getting anything extra, if the game isn't getting better after that 4 hours of learning and getting better at the game, then no.
Yeah. I think for me personally, spending that amount of time, like spending sometimes hundreds of hours reading the rules, looking at the different cards, reading different strategies. What's the meta game like? Like what are other people planning? Building your own decks, testing your own decks, going back to the drawing board with your own decks. Like that's a big involved process. For me, that style of game has to be a competitive head-to-head game where you're trying to outdo someone else. That's what makes that worth it for me.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't want to put that amount of time into basically any other board game, right? Like, I do that somewhat for Android Netrunner, but if
Right.
I'm like, hey, I got this new game, City of Iron, let's go away and spend 100 hours, everyone go do the rule set, look at this, look at that, like, just research all this stuff, watch these videos and stuff like that, and then we'll come back and play the game. And it's kind of just what it is. As great as City of Iron is, I wouldn't put that much time into it for that.
No, not at all.
But when I'm trying to one-up someone else in a competitive head-to-head nature,
sure,
I'm always trying to get the edge. I'm trying to anticipate what they're doing. So I need to know what exists in the pool of cards out there. What potentially could they do? Oh, I see they're playing this card. That gives me an idea of what else may be coming, or how I need to tailor my play. So that style of game is what it's all about. I think it's the same thing for chess, right? Like, people spend hundreds of hours in chess, and that's a head-to-head game. You don't see people spending hundreds of hours looking at solitaire strategies.
But does it change when it's, you're not even playing the game yet. You're just doing research. You're finding information, you're studying, and then you sit down and play the game, versus you're learning as you play. You play, you get better. You play again, you get even better. You play again, and you're getting better. Like a game that takes 5 plays of the game before you're really good at it.
Well, I think that's another thing that goes into, is it worth the time investment to learn the game well enough to be good,
right,
at the game? Like, we talk about, like, you need to be pulled into a game, like, after the first impression,
right?
But I mean, I can be pulled into a game and not know really how to play that game really well, and need to spend another 10, 20, 30 plays before I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm getting this now.
Yeah.
Are you going to be willing to do that? What makes that game worth it to do that with? And for me, that is head-to-head competitive.
Right.
If it was like in Imperial Settlers, like, that's very solitaire-ish type game, I'm not going to be wanting to spend 50 plays before I'm like, yeah, okay, I got this. No.
For me, it's going to be how interactive it is with my mind. Not even necessarily with other players. I'm not super competitive. I'm not rushing out to go to a head-to-head tournament and like play all these other people one-on-one. I'm not really interested in that. I'd rather just sit down and play the game. But how much is the game spinning my mind? How much is it melting my brain?
Yeah.
Making me think, making me learn and experience new things, connecting dots as I'm playing the game.
Yeah. And I think, too, another thing that kind of fits into this is you will often play a game, see something that's broken or is a little subpar, and you're like,
Sure.
oh, I want to make a variant to this game. I want to spend my own time coming up with a different way to play this game because I didn't like it as it was in the box.
Right.
To me, that there is no game that is worth that to me.
Right.
If you got the chance of the rules that are in the box to make it worth it for me. If it's not worth my time to fix someone else's game. There's too many other great games out there. So for you, what makes spending that extra time worth it?
It has to be, it comes down to the theme and the mechanics. It has to be something that I love. Maybe it's a mechanic that I love, but the game isn't pulling through 100%. Or it's a theme that I really enjoy, or it has cool minis like Ninja All-Star.
Yeah.
And I'm going, man, like these components are awesome. The material components are really cool. The game doesn't stand up. I still want to use this stuff.
Yeah.
This stuff is cool enough that I want to keep it. And the game isn't supplying me with enough to keep me interested, so I need to make it interesting. And I need to step up my game to make the game worth its time and worth the money that I spent on it.
Right. Yeah.
That's me.
That's you.
I'm willing to do that. I don't have a problem as long as it's not too much work. Like, I don't want to reformat the whole game and start from scratch and be like, okay, I'm just gonna rewrite all the rules to this whole game.
Just basically.
No, it's just like this mechanic isn't working. I don't have a problem. I mean, and for me as well, I'm also a bit of a designer. I am constantly creating new games on a regular basis.
Well, I think that's kind of where I wanted to go with the question is, because I know you like to design games, so what makes you want to take time away from putting it into your own design and fixing someone else's?
Because it's a learning process. It's a new challenge. It's a new puzzle. Like, how can I make this work?
Right.
How can I fix this broken piece right here?
Yeah.
And, doing these little things often gives me ideas to implement into my games.
Yeah.
And I find with a lot of my games, I'll be building, and I'll hit this wall, and I'll be like, okay, I don't know what to do with this yet. And so I move on to something else. Yeah. And I put that game on pause, and maybe by solving these other problems, it's going to give me the key, give me the answer for my own games.
So if you, let's say, had a game where there was something that was broken in the game, and you're like, well, this game just is not up to par.
Right.
But it's something that you could spend time fixing. Does that then make how much money you spent on that game make it worth it?
Are you attributing me spending time fixing the game as part of the worth of that game because I'm getting something out of it?
Yeah,
out of fixing it.
Let's take like Ninja All Stars,
right?
For example, like you like the minis, you like all that stuff. It was intriguing to you. You said with the rule set in the box, it was like a 3.
4.
4 out of 10. But you were like, but if I house rule these certain things, this could be a 7 or an 8.
Yep.
Is Ninja All Stars now worth the money that you spent on it?
Oh yeah, for sure. If I'm like redesigning it to make it more attainable, more playable, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, if I was to just leave it sitting there on my shelf and with its basic rules and not change anything about it, it's probably not going to be played.
Right.
And therefore, it's not worth what I paid for it. But by altering a few other things, I'm now playing the game.
But what I'm trying to get at is, like, let's just say if you spent $100 on Ninja All Stars.
Yeah.
If the game as is, would you rather not have spent the $100, or would you rather have spent the $100 and play it with your own rule set?
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I could swing either way on that one. I mean, there's so many games out there that it's easy enough, like you said, to rather than spending time on this, I could buy something else.
Yeah.
But at the same point, or at the same time, I really like everything that's in that game. The theme, the components, everything is awesome. It's just the rules don't work for me.
Yeah.
So it's worth it for what I got. For the components alone, it was worth it. It's like buying the game without the rules.
Yeah. And I think more and more as I've played more and more games, and I've played more and more great games. Like, there's so many great games out there that it's getting hard for a good game to be worth it for me.
Sure, yeah, I can see that too.
Like I'm like, oh yeah, this game is a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Not worth it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, do I want to spend my time playing a good game when I could be playing great games?
Yeah.
So I definitely find more recently, like, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that game was good, but no.
Yeah, it's almost like the experience value.
Yeah.
Where I'm just paying to play this game 1, 2, 3 times, and then just pass it along and try the next best thing. And that's, I guess that's kind of Cult of the New. But I think Cult of the New, that whole thing is all about games are just getting better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I used to before, if I played, I know I've done this a lot. I go to like a games night and I play a game and I'd be like, oh, that was a good game. And then I go out and buy it.
Right.
I wouldn't do that anymore.
Right.
I'd be like, okay, yeah, that was a good game. And that's it.
That's enough.
Yeah. I have more great games in my collection that I can play. But, I enjoyed the experience of playing it. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't rush out and buy it because it's not worth it for me to buy good games anymore. They need to be great games.
Yeah. And then it's the struggle. You don't know what a great game is going to be.
Right.
So you just got to buy stuff and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to conventions.
Again, that's like the scenario where I've played a game and I know it's good, and I probably wouldn't buy it. But I mean, I still go out and buy games not sight unseen. Like I know about them, but had I known that it was only going to be a good game, I probably would have wanted to have played it. Mm-hmm. But if I've played it and I know it's only a good game, I wouldn't go out and spend the money. I might still buy it just to say I've played it a few times and then move on. But playing it at convention, playing it at a board game cafe, they're getting more popular. If I play just a good game at a cafe, I'm not going to do the same thing like I used to and go out and buy it.
Right. It's not as big of an issue for me because I do so much trading.
Yeah.
And I'm just turning over my collection all the time. It's just another game that I can enjoy with friends, family, and then when I'm done with it, it's time to pass it along and get something new. So it's not an issue.
Yeah. So I think that's all I wanted to say for what makes a game worth it.
All right. Should we wrap it up then?
Let's wrap it up. Let us know what makes a game worth it for you guys.
Yeah, and what's most important for you?
Oh, actually, no, there was one more thing
that
I wanted to mention in what makes a game worth it.
Okay.
And it actually has to do quite a bit with my game collection that I have.
Okay.
And that's X-Wing miniatures.
Sure.
Right?
You have like multiples of everything.
I have multiples of a lot.
And it wasn't on your top. Well,
it wasn't.
No,
let's not ruin my top 25. But it's already ruined, so it wasn't on my top 25. It's a game that I've only played, 15 times around there.
Right.
But I still buy all the minis that come out for it.
Right.
Because for me, just having the collection of the miniatures makes it worth it.
Right.
Like there's.
We have like showcases, and you just like put them out.
Yeah. I think they look cool. I get enjoyment just out of looking at that. So it's really,
that's kind of how I feel about Ninja All Stars.
If I wanted to get into the game, like it's just very competitive, I'd have to spend all that extra time. I don't really do that. I don't spend a whole lot of time playing the game, but I mean I've spent more money on X-Wing stuff than I've spent on my Deluxe Dungeon Lords or any other single board game that I have.
Yeah.
Maybe aside from Netrunner, but to me that's still worth it because I like having it. I like the collectible nature of it and displaying it.
Sure.
So that's another thing that can go into the what makes a game worth it is
you're just showing it off.
Yeah. Do you get enjoyment out of just having it and looking at it? Like I'll pull out a couple of the minis and I'll look at them and I just think they're cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think with that, I think that's all I wanted to say on what makes a game worth it.
Sounds good.
So yeah, awesome. let us know in the comments below if you like the beautiful sunshine that is coming in.
That I'm basking in all my glory.
Yeah, we actually do get sun here in Canada, believe it or not. Yeah, let us know what makes a game worth it to you, and for what different styles of games do you have different criteria?
Yeah,
because I think we all do, depending on the type of game we're looking at.
For sure.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Meeple. Go down to the description down below if you're watching on video. And click that board game links and give us some hearts.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube as well.
Yes, we appreciate all of it. We want to converse with you, so give us some feedback. Give us some love.
All right.
Give us love.
And you can get his
my album.
His album coming out shortly here. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for episode 13. We'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.